Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reintroduce, well, myself and my viewership anyway, with Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Um, I played this game quite a bit, actually. It's been a while though. It's been a little while since I've been on here, but um, it's it's honestly a really cool title. They've recently done some major updates, improvements. Oh, the map looks lovely now. Um, Most everything else looks about the same, but it is a global game. And what I'm doing today, or at least what I'm starting today, we'll see how it works out, is a German campaign starting in 1890. So this is at the very dawn of the dreadnought era. Hey, you can do a couple things with this. You can do extensive research like I did on various ships that nations built from these time periods, and you can base your builds off of historical counterparts if you so choose. Or you can take a leap, as it were, design your own ships. Now let's see if I remember how to play this, if I remember how to do this. But again, I am starting at Germany, as Germany, playing as Germany, hence the title Sink the Bismarck. Um, Very famous song, very good movie that was inspired by said song. I don't remember if Disney did the movie or not, but anyway, that's getting into the World War II era, which is about where this game actually culminates. At least as per last time I was playing it, I think it finished up in maybe the 1950s, which really World War II kind of was the end of the dreadnought era. The days of the battleship were over by then. So let's see what's different. So this is a legendary difficulty. It's playing at the hardest difficulty as Germany. And let's see if we can't make things interesting throughout this. But the first episode here is going to be a lot of, me shaking off the rust and walking you through how to get an effective start. All right. So the first thing I like to do is I like to go into finance, transport capacity, I jack it all the way up. Okay. Crew training you can leave minimal for the time being. As a matter of fact, you can even bump it down to say 20% at the start. True training is not going to be important until you get closer to wars and things like that. Tech budget, I'm also going to set all the way up. Okay. For politics, I'll come back to that tab. Let's go into research. Now, you can specify three research priorities. All right. At most, I like to do two, especially in the early game, because the more of these you set, and watch turret mechanisms. If I set priority to say engines, to say hull construction and armor forging, see turret mechanisms went from 7 months or 3 months to 7 months. Rangefinders shot all the way up to 75 months. Okay, so a lot of this is going to depend on what you have at the start. Um, Early game again, I do like to push destroyer tech fairly quickly. Torpedoes, let's see what we got for torpedoes. We've got regular sized torpedoes and a 2-cylinder pneumatic motor. Um, Enhanced turret cylinders actually might be really nice to start off, but the control station also is something that's going to be fairly important. So do I want to just push one for now and let everything else? Ooh, the triple expansion steam engine, I remember those. Lighter boilers, I remember those. Um, okay. Maybe we just do one for now. Yeah, I'll focus in on one for now. So let's go ahead and push the torpedo boats. Okay. And we'll go into, we're going to go to ship design. All right. And I like this is just again this is a personal thing. I like to at the start design my own fleet. You do have the option to auto generate a fleet. So if you don't want to mess around with this, that's fine. That's great. But if you do, like me, I'll walk you through the shipbuilding process here too, because this actually does take a little bit of time. So I'm not going to historically name them. I'm actually going to again just kind of go off of memory as to what were some effective um, designs on the ships. So your speed, that's going to be, it's going to be fairly straightforward as to what speed is. Displacement, of course, is the maximum size of your ships. Um, I'm going to have to go back into the finance section after this, actually. So for my big ships, like battleships and stuff, you have three different settings. You have cramped, you have spacious, and you have standard. On my really large ships, I like to go with standard quarters. It gives you a little bit of cushion. It's not a skeleton crew. Cramped would be a skeleton crew. And as you take crew losses, it's actually rapidly diminishes the fighting effectiveness of your vessels. On larger ships also, and again, this is drawing from memory, I'll drop the bulkheads to standard. Now you'll notice, dropping the bulkheads decreases the current weight of the ship, which is displayed there on the left. The crew quarters, going from cramped to standard, doesn't offer too much of an increase in weight. All right. Now, the draft is going to be the height of your ship. All right. This will allow you to increase overall weight of your vessels uh, uh, without affecting um, um, engine power requirements on your speed and things like that. All right. The beam, on the other hand, is going to do that, but what it does do is it gives it a much more stable shooting platform. So, depending on what you want to do, okay, there we go. It's right click, right and hold to rotate. Mouse wheel zooms in, zooms out. All right, allows you to do some things like that. Okay, so anyway, and then of course range. Early ships, maybe you don't need a whole lot of range. Maybe you can bump this down to minimum. And for speed, let me see here. Speed, I would like to bump to maybe 16 knots. All right, so this is going to give us, for the German Empire, a fairly stable platform from which to work. Okay. Okay. Now let's get into. Let me see here. Repositioning. Click and hold mouse. There we go. And you can move to different parts of the ship more specifically. Okay, so we have a battleship hull, and there again, your first vessels don't have to be anything terribly fancy. They really don't. So, and if you hold control, if I remember right, was it control? No. Was it shift? No. It's control. No. Alt. There was a key. I'll have to remember how to do this. I thought it was control that I say bind to. Oh God, that's loud. Is it loud? Is it loud? Hmm. Okay. Okay, so we'll put a main tower in, a secondary tower. We'll go with a rear tower number 2. I like the larger rear tower. Okay. That. Okay. Nothing too terribly fancy, but the rear tower, and you'll notice that there's different effects of each thing. Okay. How big a ship can I make? What's the largest? Because that thing was pretty minimal, wasn't it? Let's say an 11,000 ton ship. Let's try the Okay. Now, and you'll notice that by increasing the overall weight of the ship, it also lengthened it. And this is going to again be dictated in part by the beam and the draft settings, right? So the draft will allow you to make a heavier ship by making it taller. And what is the max draft? 16.5. We'll say 3% on the draft. And the beam, we're going to go with a 5% overall increase on the beam. So let's go back down to not 10,000. Go with 11,000 tons. Okay. So we made it a little bit wider, a little bit taller. And these early vessels were not really intended in any way, shape, or form to be. And also, I'm going to want to keep my cost in mind. So I don't, for the first battleships, I don't want to go over 10,000. I would like to try to keep it under 10,000 per ship. So let me see here. If I put that funnel there, if I put one massive funnel on it, and I think that's what. Okay, well, if I went with that. The large isn't going to fit there, but the medium does fit there. So what if I went with two medium funnels? Though technically, 7.5. Technically, the first of the German battleships had one single funnel, and then they actually displaced a. They had three main turrets. Okay, let's go to main guns. And I want 11s on here. Oh god, no. 10,000 is not going to get it done at all, is it? Unless... let's drop it back to iron plate again. The first vessel does not have to be anything terribly fancy. You can always upgrade it later. Now here's the thing. And here's what your task as a shipbuilder is. Say you want your engagement range to be 5,000 meters, all right, and your 5,000 meters is going to be all right. Here's what we'll do. I'm going to stick one there and a 10 there. Let's compare. All right, and we can do this as we upgrade. So I'm going to plop those down for now. Secondary guns. What we're going to do with secondaries, 3-inch, 3-inch guns, and if I remember right, we want 88s. Or maybe with these, we put, were they 50 millimeter? Would they be 50 millimeters? Anyway, It's not those kinds of guns though. We're going to want some 4-inch guns, and we're going to modify these. Okay, yes. So we want 4-inch guns because they did mount 105 millimeter guns. So let me see here. We're going to go there. Okay. Now these 3s, and I have to get my my bearings back. I used to know offhand what was what. Some 3-inch guns. Okay. So we have we have 8 4-inch guns, 6 3-inch guns. Oh, and both of those are 11s? I could have swore I said main guns. 10 double-inch or 10-inch 2-barrel gun. Let's see what their statistics are. All right, so at 5,000 meters, we got 1 to 1.1 versus 0.7 to 0.8. That's about a 0.3 difference. 0.3% at 5,000 meters. All right. What's the cost? Almost 3 million on the 10s and like 3.5 million on the 11s. In an interest of saving weight and better protecting our shield, let's go with the 10-inch guns first. And these ships are incredibly difficult to get balanced. This design of ship is incredibly difficult to get balanced. So, historically, these guys did have torpedo launchers on them. I'm not going to put torpedo launchers. I'm not going to be putting torpedo launchers. So let's go with I'm gonna risk it and neglect the Citadel in an effort to keep the cost down. So 10 million. Yeah, again, I'm rusty. I need to remember how much things cost. Single bottom hull, standard bulkheads. That's all going to be that. With the shell ratio, standard shell ratio, and I like to do that for the main ships because they're your main fighting ships. You don't want to go too heavy on the AP because you might need some HE shells to deal with lighter vessels. On the secondary guns, I do like max HE. Why? Because primarily, and this is what had proven well for me in the past, is they're very good at starting fires. Base fuse, standard AP shells. So all of that tech is standard shell load is good. Standard shell load is good. Standardized shell, on the other hand, since we're downsizing our weapons, what I'm going to go ahead and do is go with the shells. Now that's going to affect my rate of fire in an adverse way. Yeah, and there's not much you can do. I mean, we can go with enhanced loading. So enhanced loading. And yeah, there's not much you can do really about these early ship designs. Okay, so armor. What was a good thought for armor, at least for base rules of thumb? You take your weapon size and you make that your main belt, and then you go half again on your fore and aft. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. 5 inches of armor. I mean, so if you see the AP penetration at 5,000 meters, we're at on a 10-inch gun, we're at 11.6. So they would have to be pretty heavily armored. And remember, we are using iron plate, so the effectiveness of the armor actually is lower on that. Yeah, if we were to go to compound, actually, oh, they fixed that. That used to be a really bad bug. That on the battleships in the first in the early ones, the compound armor was actually heavier. Um, yeah, the compound armor is supposed to be lighter because it's well, for one, stronger, so you need less of it for that effectiveness, that same kind of effectiveness. And let me see here. Is there? Let me see here. Armor quality, and you can go into your settings actually and play with that. So what I have here is armor quality and penetration data is set to compound armor. Okay, it's what the rating is for compound armor because compound armor is plus 35%. Right? Now this does increase your armor costs. Okay, so we're pushing up on $250,000 in cost on this ship. And I don't know. Now, what I was doing is with these early ships, because long range engagements kind of aren't a thing, you can minimize your deck armor. Okay. Minimal deck armor. The conning tower will go with 10-inch armor in the conning tower, which is basically going to be right in this area right here. Okay. What's the max on that? Let me see. It's 13.5. Let's go with 10 inches on the conning tower. The superstructure will go same as the main deck. Actually, superstructure, let's make that a little bit less. And the superstructure protection is really going to protect like your funnels and your secondary towers and any of the superstructure, right? Now here's the question. Go with 14 there. We'll go with 1 inch on top, and the barbette I would like to max out. Okay. The 4-inch guns again. Let's minimize the top armor, and think of it like this: the top armor early is not as relevant because there's less plunging fire. Shots are not going to sail over and plunge down. All right. Because of the range of the engagements, the shots are going to go straight into the broadside. Okay. Now, unit conversions. 4 inches, you're going to want to bump 1/10 of an inch to make it 105, and I think 88 millimeter. Let's go millimeters to inches on my handy dandy unit converter. We're going to 88 millimeter is 3.46. So round that up to 3.5, and there you go. You've got 88 millimeter guns. All right. We're doing good on weight. We're doing really good on weight. We've got plenty of weight to give. And actually, because we've reduced the top armor, the flat horizontal surface armors, and it's another reason that I'm not really going to put a citadel on these battleships just yet. Excuse me. Excuse me again. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to Oh, wow. So we actually lost a little bit of armor there. Okay. We could have gone with the bigger guns, but that's okay. $250,000, 25 million. I said 10 million at first, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not going to work at all. What's the max on these guns? It's 6.4 inches. Okay. So tell you what, add another battery, bring it up to 10 105 millimeter guns. And actually what I can do is put some of these external guns and you know what, just for kicks I'm gonna make these so let me see here. If we do were they 37 millimeters? No, were they 50 millimeters? 1.96 is 50 millimeters, so that's basically 2-inch. Though we could make them 37s. Let's play with this a little bit and see what we're going to get. Okay, so for these guns, I'm going to go ahead and max out their length. All right, just max out your 2-inch guns. Okay, so do we want 50 millimeter? 75 would be about 3 inches if I'm not mistaken. So do we want to go, hold on, what happens if we go down a size? It's 12, 13. If we go down to 1.9, it's 13, 14. So what does that come out to? About 45? 47? It's like 40, that's like 47 millimeter. Or do we just say forget that noise and put some more 88s? Put a pair of 88s, so that's going to be 0.5 over. The length we can't increase. Those 3.5s, those 88s, they don't get any armor whatsoever, but they're there. Okay. Okay. All right. That might give us a somewhat effective battle wagon to start off. The aft deck, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to 2 inches, and I'm going to go to 6 inches on that aft belt. Maybe. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. All right. And that's just going to help with balance. It's something that I had taken to doing, excuse me, with these early ships. Okay. All right. So we got a Wittelsbach. The range is not superb, but that's okay. Most of what we're going to be doing is operating close to home anyway. All right. Okay, and that's basically all we can do with the battleship. So there's an effective battleship, I think, to start off. At least it's a battleship. We'll have a heavier ship. All right. Then we go to new design. We're going to go with armored cruiser number 1. Now the max displacement on this guy is 3936. The speed 16. We'll say. Now, 2 thoughts. Because this is going to be technically a heavy cruiser, we can have it go either the same speed as or slightly faster than our battleships. And I'm just going to put him at slightly above. All right, just slightly above, 17 knots. Nothing fancy. We'll bring the range down. I'll put it middle for now. Bulkheads on this are going to be standard. Crew quarters on this also are going to be standard. Now the beam On this, I'm going to leave it alone, but I think I'm going to improve the draft by about 5%. Uh-huh. Okay, so we have a 4,000 ton cruiser. Make it a little taller so that the engines are more efficient. So it'll make it make it taller. So that we can squeeze more weight onto about a similar size hull. Okay. Okay. We're going to want to go. And on this, no, I'm not going to put a citadel on this either. All right. Bulkhead standard. Draft is a little bit higher. Speed 17 knots. Okay. Main tower. Take that back as far as it will go. Secondary tower, rear tower 1, rear tower 2. We're going to go with rear tower 2 to help with the aim button. Okay. Funnels. Big funnel. Do I want a medium funnel? 45. Let's go with putting 2 funnels on it either way. So medium funnels. That'll get us 91% engine efficiency, which is pretty decent. Okay, main guns, center line guns, and on this, I think I was doing an initial cruiser build with like 7.5s. Forward weight. Okay, secondary guns. I think my first heavy cruisers weren't terribly heavily armored. They were more for dealing with smaller ships. So what's the difference between 3-inch and 4-inch? Point blank range 5.5, 5.8. No, that's interesting because it used to be there's a drop off in accuracy from 3 to 4 and then a major increase. Maybe not a major increase, but an increase going back into 5. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a basically a platform for dealing with smaller vessels. Okay, so some 2-inch guns. Those 3-inch guns are going to be, let me see here, casemates. Okay. And then terribly unbalanced. And the early German ships are really notorious for this. Ratio on that, but heavier on that. Standard shell size. Once again, shells. Okay. Barbettes. Barbettes. These are heavy cruisers. Okay. Okay, so the main guns We'll go 7.5, and 7.5 is what? That's 190 millimeter basically. 6.8 and 7.2. Yeah, I'm gonna give them 37 millimeter. That's only going to improve the rate of fire. All right. Okay. Can I go with 7 inches of armor on the main belt on these? No, because the heavy cruisers don't allow that much. So let's go with 6. Let's go with 3. Let's go with 3. The main deck, 1/2 inch. We're going to go with 1/2 inch all around. Seven on the conning tower and 1 inch on the superstructure. Now, go with 7. That's kind of narrow on the sides, I think. But we'll go with 7. Well, actually, let's go with 8. And then we'll go 1/2 inch on the top and the barbettes. Max those. We'll say 7 on the barbette. All right, and then the other guns. Okay, that might be an effective heavy cruiser. Now you'll notice the speed setting is going to also be dependent upon your engine efficiency. So if I wanted to increase the range, I could bump the speed down, but I do want my heavy cruisers to be just a little bit faster than my battleships. Just a little bit right now. One knot is will do just fine. All right. Now for the light cruisers. Now you can do torpedo cruisers. I don't find them to be as effective as the actual light cruiser hull. So let's go with the light cruiser hull. What's the max displacement on these guys? 3,000 tons. Okay, that's good. All right. Now, for the German light cruisers, what did I do? It's 17 knots. Let's see, about a 20 knot top speed. I like my light cruisers to be a little faster. So the beam, I'm going to go negative. Let's go with -3 on the beam. The draft, leave it alone. Back to That makes it a bit longer, actually. Crew quarters on these guys. Actually, I'm going to go with spacious. I'm going to go with many bulkheads. Now, the reason for that is because it's a light cruiser. It's going to develop more holes. So more bulkheads are going to be better ultimately for the light cruisers. No citadel. Okay, so the main tower. Do we want front tower 1 or front tower 2? It's not much of a difference in weight offset, so let's go with tower 2. And we're going to go with tower number 3. Okay. We give it a 1/4 inch of armor. Okay, the conning tower, I think 3.5 is the max for the conning tower. And then the superstructure, we'll go with a 1/2 inch. All right, so for the light cruiser, early light cruiser, we don't want casement guns, do we? That's right, main guns. It is a main gun. On the light cruiser, that's a main gun. Maybe I'm better off with funnels.
Mic off. Mic on.
That's going to make them crazy expensive, though, isn't it? Or is it? Not really. I mean, the 2 million, that's a little steep, maybe. But we'll come back to that. So anyway, gun there. That's 8, and the real ones had 10 105s mounted. So our small funnel tech, actually, we started off pretty good with small funnel tech. So I think I'm just going to go with those 3 like that. Okay. Now, for these, I'm just going to go with maximum HE. All right. The reason for that is that the HE shell penetration on these specifically is more than enough to handle the little torpedo boats, which is what you want for these guys. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to go with light shells on this one. Okay. Torpedo launchers, I am going to want underwater torpedo tubes for this. Torpedo tubes, 4 aft and center. Okay. Standard torpedoes, standard size. We're going to go with reloading. Okay. I'm going to go with hydraulic torpedoes, and on the torpedo ammunition on this, I'm actually going to go reduced. Okay. I'm going to go reduced. What's the max armor on the main belt? On these, 2.5 inches. So let's go with 2 inch. Had it set pretty good. Okay, the 4-inch guns, turret armor. What's the max armor? 1.6. So let's go with 1.5. And on top, we'll go with a 1/2 inch just for shrapnel protection. A little over 2.25 million for the light cruisers. And the light cruisers, really, I like to employ them as distant base protection Um, Let me see something real quick though. If I have that, that's pretty well balanced as is actually. So let me see. Is there something I can do about this? Actually, what I can do is I can beef up the aft belt. Okay. Two, three, four, 5 times 2 makes 10. Okay, we got torpedo tubes. Yes. Okay. And spacious quarters because these guys are really prone to damage. So again, the bulkheads, the spacious quarters, that's just going to improve crew survivability, and that's a really important thing in some of your ships is crew survivability, because your crew, once it drops past a certain point, you get diminished effectiveness on your vessels. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that light cruiser. Now you might ask, am I going to build a design for every one of these? No. Typically on the start, I do battleship, I do heavy cruiser, I do light cruiser, and then I go with the torpedo boat. Okay, now the torpedo boats, they're sort of tricky to start off, but what's the biggest torpedo boat I can build? I'm going to start off with 250 ton. All right, we're going to do a 250 ton torpedo boat. The bulkheads are going to be max, and the crew quarters are going to be max. Okay. Now, what's the biggest negative that I can put on this? It's -9. So let's go with yeah. Let's actually do -9 on the draft. Okay. 250 ton displacement, and the draft. Draft we're going to leave alone on this. All right. Now, main tower, main tower, main tower, main tower. We don't need a lot for these little guys. Okay. Basically, we need a tower. We're going to want a funnel. Dual funnels, dual standard funnels. That's more than enough for what we're doing, I think. What was the speed on the light cruiser? It's 20 knots. So this I'm actually going to want to push out to about, not 37, come on, 27 knots. All right, now that's going to adversely affect the engine efficiency. Just a little bit, but we're in the yellow. All right. Now for a main gun, I'm going to equip him with, I think a single 88 tended to work really well. Though there again, let me see here. Actually, 5'9" to 5'8". Yeah, but here's the thing. And if I go with, let me see here. If I go with a 37 millimeter gun again, now what's the accuracy? It's at 6.3. All right, so we don't need a big gun. Quite frankly, we don't need a big gun on these. The damage is, let me see here, 29.1 with the HE shells versus 40.3. It's 5.9 to 6.2. It's 6 to 6.3. So it's not really much of an increase. The rate of fire, on the other hand, I mean, a 37 millimeter wouldn't be bad for these guys. Let's see what I can do now. I could theoretically put that on there if I want to. We'll hold off on that. What we do need though is a torpedo launcher. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to do okay. So 50% more torpedoes. I think that gives him 3. Maybe at that standard. 6.7 to 7.1. .50 millimeter guns. So actually, so what is that? Like a 47 millimeter? I think that's like a 47 millimeter, give or take. Yeah, it's like 47 millimeters. So we'll arm these guys with 47 millimeter. All right. They don't have to have big guns. The big threat on these is going to come from the torpedoes. All right. As you can see, no armor. .27 knot speed. Okay. And these guys are going to be unstable as anything, but the main idea with them is going to be they're fast. All right, that's it. That's all. That's all you need. So for your torpedo boats, boom, we have 250 ton cap, and it's currently at 201. Now we might be able to upgrade this later to a dual torpedo tube. Don't know yet. And that's what it is. All right. We could upgrade that to an 88. Let me see what that's going to do for us. See, that's in the way of that now. But what's the 88's accuracy? 6.7 to 7.1. I'm gonna go light gun. Oh, that does remind me. Boom, there we go. That gets us another little bit of accuracy. Actually, another whole percentage basically. Another percentage point of accuracy when you. So your early game on your little torpedo boats, the 2-inch guns really are the most effective because you can make them longer. You can play with them. They're very accurate. They have a high rate of fire. These guys, that's going to allow them to just deal with enemy torpedo boats that much more. And no, we can't stick another because the boat's too narrow. So because it's a narrow hull, that's what we're dealing with right now. All right, pitch and roll on it is terrible, but there again, we don't need the boat to be super stable. We just need them to get in quickly, launch torpedoes, and get the heck back out. All right, so let's save that design like that. And we now have a basis for our fleet. And while that's loading, okay. So anyway, those are fleet buildings. Finances. Now, the max shipyard size is 12,000 tons right now. What you can do early game are micro builds, while your economy builds up. And the reason I do this is mainly, okay, yeah, that's going to hurt me at the start. My monthly balance is in the positive by 6 million. Okay, so we're going to have issues with that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my fleet. Actually, I'm going to go to ship design first. I'm going to take our battleships. I'm going to build, I think, 2 of these battleships. Wow, I was 1,000 tons under budget. I might be able to do something about that, actually. I might want to do something about that, actually. But right now, anyway, right now, not really. So we're going to build two of these battleships. Okay. I'm going to start off with, let me see here. I'm going to want, okay, Tsingtao. We do have a base in Tsingtao. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build 2 of the cormorants. I'm going to build 4, I think, of these nymphs to start off. What did I do? Did I hit cancel? Yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay. And then for the S1s, I like 2 per fleet, so I'm going to go ahead and build 8 of those. Now, where to put these? So, my battleships obviously are going to protect my home ports, and Western Germany is by far the most important. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them all in Emden. Okay, and then one of the heavy cruisers also is going to go to Emden. The other one is going to go to Tsingtao. Okay. Let me see here. One of the light cruisers to Emden. One of the light cruisers to Tsingtao. One of these light cruisers are going to go... Actually, I might need an extra light cruiser if I stop and think about it. So what I would like to do is I would like to have a light cruiser group in West Africa. So I'm going to go with Douala. And this other one, I'm going to actually set over in the North Oceania. So probably Friedrich Wilhelmshaven, huh? Aniaria. Okay, and then for these, relatively straightforward. Two of those per. Tsingtao. Kampala. And to Oniaria. Okay. Finances, we're slightly in the negative, but that's okay because as we increase transport capacity, we're going to increase our monthly balance. So that's one of the most important things you can do early on is increasing that transport capacity. Now, let's see here. Probably 12,000 tons because my biggest ship is under that and it's also under its overall weight. I can hold off on this. I actually can hold off on this. Um, I might have just should have just built a 10,000 ton hull and worked from there. But anyway, uh, that should give us an effective fleet. Okay. Though there is one other thing I want to do. I'm going to build one more light cruiser, and we're going to put him in Loam. Can I put him in Loam? Yes, I can put him in Loam. Put him in Loam. And I'm going to build two more of these torpedo boats and put them also in Loam. Okay. Now what that's going to do is that's going to give me one fleet in West Africa, and the other fleet I can actually sail down and around to the other side of the West Indian Ocean. Protect some, give some light protection to some of my colonies. Okay. Finances, what does that do? It puts us at negative $500,000. Okay. We've got enough of a cushion to where that's going to, I do believe, go away. Okay. And so we're ready to start our campaign. Let's do it. All right. Finances, and our finances is actually a positive 1 million now. And this is going to be due to like ship flaws and things like that. So you can see that, yeah, it's overweight by like 10%. So extra hull defects and all that other stuff. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to put add crew on for now. All right. And then I'm going to take the fleet here in Loam, move ships, and I'm going to send them over to, where do I want to send them? Dar es Salaam. Okay. And I'm going to move all of them. Okay. Move. Boom. And it's going to take them how many turns? 3 turns. Wow, that's kind of a lot. And you'll notice that the monthly balance is going down because the ships are at sea. They cost more when they're at sea and active, right? Okay. So, I think this is going to conclude Sink the Bismarck for today. And I know, I'm playing as Germany, and I entitled my whole series as Sink the Bismarck. Go figure. I'm going to let you guys figure that one out. All right. So that's that for today. Tune in next week to see how the campaign progresses. I will caution you, early game is going to be just a lot of ending turn, setting research, ending turn. Maybe, excuse me, as more technology comes in, tweaking ships and ending turn. It's going to be a lot of management early. But if you give yourself a solid foundation, I promise you, the later game will go a lot easier. Especially if you're one of those who wants to challenge yourself and say, you know, I'm just not going to have any friends. I'm going to go to war with everybody, right? So you have to play that careful at the start. You're not the economic powerhouse of the United States or Russia. Um, and certainly not the naval power that will become Japan. So what do you want to do? Good idea at the start anyway. Maybe pick on Spain. Spain's weak. They have a lot of territory, very very spread out. A lot of territory with Spain, particularly in the Philippines, right? You can pick on them. You get some nice places in the Caribbean, et cetera, et cetera. France and Great Britain will be your biggest challenges. Germany early on. It's just going to be that way. So how do you want to handle them? Well, it's up to you. So anyway, tune in next time. This is Wolf 190D signing off.